Good day, my name is Christelle from France de Klerk Independent Technical Analyst. Ishmael wanted us to look at Bitcoin. Ishmael, we all know that this was a beautiful lamp pole formation that took this instrument to a brand new record high at $61,781, and that was in the week of the 8th of March 2021. We can see ever since then, every week the Bitcoin reached a new high, but it was a little bit lower than the previous high. And that implies lower highs, which implies a loss of momentum. This is a strong candle, but it can be seen as a hammer or a hanging man candle, And the negativity or the warning of this candle will only be confirmed when it's followed up by a bearish type of engulfing candle. So we can assume that the first sign of weakness on Bitcoin will be when that support waiting at $50,360 changes into a resistance. However, once the instrument starts to consolidate above 61,781 again, we can assume that the momentum to the top can continue. Yes, my stochastic is overbought. What does that mean? It means the probability of the instrument to retrace to lower levels is more likely. And more importantly, you've got a negative divergence there where that blue line broke through that orange line, which tells us or implies loss of momentum and that the price action might soon follow. However, Bitcoin is a definite momentum trade. There's no real underlying than just the sentiment and the interest of the public towards this instrument. So it can easily start to change that top there at 61,781 into a resistance or a support so that the momentum to the top can continue again. Reuven wanted us to look at cannabis. There are so many cannabis ETFs, so I assumed you're looking at the actual commodity, Reuven. So yes, massive shooting star candle. Now a shooting star candle appears at the top of a rally, has a long tail at the top, and which implies tells us that the selling pressure was there. It tells us the top of this instrument was $6,023, but the sellers were strong enough to bring this instrument all the way down to close at $4,752. Now we can see that at the moment cannabis is in a wait and see position because one, we can see lower highs on the candles. Every time the instrument bounced, the high was a little bit lower than the previous one. But this might be a descending triangle. A descending triangle can act as a continuation pattern when that upper band changes into a support, and we can see it's fighting it at the moment, waiting at 3,994. So if that level changes into a support, cannabis can easily go back to new record highs. But if the support line, the lower band of this descending triangle, waiting at $3,845, starts to change into a resistance, we can assume that the top of the instrument is in place and that we can see lower levels. My stochastic is sitting on a 33. It's a no man's land, so it's neither here nor there. We prefer to buy an instrument when it's oversold, when the stochastic is below a 20 or a 10 and there's confirmation of a divergence. And we prefer to take profit or sell an instrument or go short when it's overbought and there is a negative divergence with the K line breaking through the orange line. So keep these levels in mind. Have a look at that descending triangle, Reuven, because it can either go up or break downwards, which will confirm the top of the cannabis instrument. Fumari wanted us to look at Hulamin. Listed on our JSE ticker HLM, had a beautiful rally. And this was another example, Fumani, that a double bottom at the end of a sell-off is a beautiful turnaround pattern for a share. This double bottom was confirmed there when R1.51 changed into a support. Look how beautifully this red line, the 40-week moving average, was tested, remained a support, and ever since then, the share reached for higher levels. But at the moment, it had a little bit of a pullback, which was expected. It was overbought, there was lower highs, there was a divergence, and now the big test is, will the support of Hulamin that is waiting on that level, I want to give you that exact level, in the week of the 23rd of March, was R2.07. R2.07 is the critical level or the protection level, stop loss level on Hulamin that you need to keep in mind, or that you need to have in place to protect capital, assuming that as long as the instrument remains above R2.07, that the instrument can continue to higher levels. What is positive, Fumani, is these 2 consecutive candles with long tails at the bottom, which might imply a tweezer bottom, which tells us for 2 consecutive weeks, the buyers protected the share at almost the same price to make sure that it doesn't decline even further, and that is seen as positive. Protection level R2.07. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention, Fumani, is this possible inverse head and shoulder formation. And keep in mind, my left shoulder has to touch the shoulder pad, almost have to touch the neckline of the instrument. So I've got a left shoulder, beautiful head, and a possible right shoulder that is in the making here on Hulamin, which can take this share a lot higher. We are above that 40-week moving average. That means the long-term sentiment towards the share is positive. And if we look back at the history, it's coming from such a low base. I mean, this is a share that back in the day, even if we go down a lot higher, when it listed, traded there around 35 Rand back in 2007. Beautiful inverse head and shoulder formation. Let's hope that R2.07 remains in place. The neckline of this inverse head and shoulder is waiting at R2.54, which will confirm the optimism of that pattern, which means the possibility or the probability of the instrument to be taken higher is on the table. My stochastic is not ideal. It's sitting on a 55. It still shows downwards. But let's hope the price action and that possible tweezer bottom and this possible inverse head and shoulder formation will encourage buyers to continue to protect the share above R2.07. Darlene wanted us to look at SBUX. Listed SBUX. Beautiful coffee. Love their smoothies. Listed on NASDAQ, ticker SBUX. And I mean, this is another example, Darlene, of a beautiful cup and handle formation that took this share. Beautiful big cup handle, no pun intended on this coffee brewer and seller. Beautiful cup and handle that took this share to brand new record highs. Now have a look now. I hope you've got the share already and it's not trying to chase momentum. Yes, my stochastic is in overbought territories, but look at those lines. The K line, the blue one, the orange line, the D line are still both pointing upwards, which tells us that yes, it is in overbought territory, but the momentum to the top is still in place. More importantly, if I look at the last 2 weeks, every week the share made new recent record highs, and that tells us that the buyers are still protecting the share, that they are keen to take it to higher levels, and that is seen as positive. You can either use the preceding week's low as a possible protection level, or look at your candles and see where is a strong support level that I can identify that has to remain in place for my instrument to say, hey, below this level, I'll be concerned about SBUX, but as long as it remains above $102.99, we can assume that the momentum to the top is in place. Beautiful graph, strong momentum, brand new record high. I do not recommend you buy it at these levels. We don't want to buy a share when it's at its top or at its brand new record high. We want to try to nibble on them when there's an inverse, head and shoulder or a cup and handle, when the instrument is oversold and the candles imply that the buyers have started to protect the share has stopped making new lows, and that's where we want to get in. We don't want to buy it when it's at record highs. Oris wanted us to look at Novus Holdings, listed on our local exchange here, ticker NVS. Beautiful rally we've seen on Novus. Also, stunning cup and handle formation here. Strong resistance that was overcome, is waiting there at R1.01. I mean, this week it's already up 14%. And look how beautifully that red line has changed into a support. And that is seen as positive. Yes, our stochastic is overbought, but this week's massive bullish engulfing candle tells me that the buyers are keen, that they are ready and are in play to protect the share, and that is seen as positive. What is the full target of my cup and handle? It's the length of the cup projected upwards from the neckline of my cup and handle upwards, which means R1.38 is a possible target of where Novus can go to. we always go back to the history and see there's also a loop here. So what we can do and what the instrument might do is we can see clearly that the resistance of R1.25 is a strong resistance. It will be interesting to see what Novus does when it reaches R1.25. Will there be enough buyers to lift it through that level, or will the share find some resistance, retrace a little bit, find again support, and maybe it might be building on a possible inverse head and shoulder. But there's no sign of a right shoulder yet, so we have to be careful there, Orisis, and wait for it. But R1.25 is a critical level that needs to change into support. And what I always love to go back to is see when was the last time the instrument changed and kept the 40-week moving average as support. We could see here back since July 2018 to about July 2019, it tried to keep the 40-week moving average, this red line, as support. It couldn't do it and just fell even further down. Now the big test is it's changed it in support now. Will it be able to keep it as support? And that 40-week moving average is waiting at 93 cents, a critical level on a Novus that has to remain a support in order to assume that the long-term sentiment towards this share will remain positive.